Hey there, everybody. Welcome. So today I'm really excited because we have Kimberly Crowe speaking to us about using your book to get speaking gigs and increase your influence. So Kimberly, welcome. We're just going to jump right in.
Awesome. Kelly, thank you so much for having me. Ashley, thanks for being here. And for those of you who are watching online, delighted to see you. Kelly and I are just going to talk a little bit about how to really get your book to monetize and how to get speaking gigs and how they can sort of cross promote each other. So for those of you I haven't met yet, my name is Kimberly Crowe. I'm an international inspirational public speaker. I've been on over 5,000 stages. And it's a very powerful thing to be able to have a book and be a bestseller to get you on stages, but stages can also help you sell your book. So they're a really good 1-2 punch. And as you become an author on a particular subject, you become an influencer on that subject because you literally wrote the book on it. And that really makes a huge, huge difference. So I've written 3 books now with Kelly, and I have 5 books out there in the world. The latest one that I wrote with Kelly is called Shift Your Narrative, and Shift Your Narrative is actually the subject that I speak on right now. So it can be a really powerful tool to be able to leverage me as an expert to get me on stages when I'm applying for speaking gigs, when I'm talking to podcasters, when I'm talking to show hosts, and I'm like, hey, I'd really love to get on your stage. And I have this book, and I have all this stuff in my bio, and one of them is I'm a best-selling author. That's a really powerful piece of leverage. But not only that, you can actually do the reverse. And once you're on the stage, talk about your book and make sales that way. So I think for me, having a book and a speaking career is sort of this wonderful sort of left, right hook to be able to get people into your world and getting them to know a little bit more about you so that you can become an influencer. Did you have questions? I was just like my opening.
Keep going, Kimberly.
Awesome. All right. So I wanted to bring to your group a thing called the Zero Moment of Truth, ZMOT. And it was actually a study done by Google, the Zero Moment of Truth. Zero Moment of Truth discovered, it went into research what buying behaviors are now with the advent of the internet. It used to be before the internet, when I was in sales, they used to say, well, it takes about 8 to 12 touches for somebody to make a buying decision at any level, on statistically averaging it out, about 8 to 12 touches. And what that was for salespeople at the time is a reminder that you can't just present something to somebody, expect them to buy, and then be like, okay, that was fun, that it actually takes some like connection with the person, right? So it encouraged people to try more than once to actually make the sale. And I think we've lost some of that art along the way. We're like, oh, I have a funnel and it's automatically selling stuff for me. And I have a book out there and it's just making me sales like mad. And, that we don't actually feel like we need to follow up with folks. And the good news and the bad news are really the same news. It's that, yes, that is partially true. So the Zero Moment of Truth study was like, now that we have the internet and people can buy stuff online, and they can they can do a lot of research, and they can compare and contrast your products with other people's. What is the Zero Moment of Truth when people actually make that buying decision? And it turns out that it's 3 different aspects, and that the aspects are held together with a range called 7-4-11 statistic. It's a new statistic, 7-4-11. So the first is 7. It takes an average of 7 hours of research before somebody will make a buying decision. 7 hours of research. So if you think about when you make a buying decision, you might go and hear about it from a friend. Kelly says, oh, Kimberly's really, really awesome, and you should work with her, right? And then you're like, okay, well, I might find out more about her before I buy anything from her. So maybe I'll go and watch this talk that Kimberly gives. And then after that, I might go and research her and find her on LinkedIn or YouTube and listen to some more stuff. Maybe she'll have a podcast and I can listen to that. Maybe she's in my local area and she's going to be speaking, and so I'll go listen to that. So it takes about 7 hours of research before somebody will make a buying decision. But it doesn't all have to be you talking. It can be you recorded in the past, but they want to be able to find you and find lots of information to be able to research you. So it can't just be one and done, basically. The next number is 4. The number 4 represents the number of different locations they need to be able to find you. All right. So if you're here on a talk with Kelly, that's one location. Another location might be if you grab a gift, then it could be that you get her name showing up in your email address. You could research her on LinkedIn or YouTube. You could find her TEDx that she's given. There could be a variety of different places that you find her, but it can't just be one and done. And that's the methodology with all 3 aspects of this, is that 7 hours of research it's not just, you appeared on a podcast and people bought your $10,000 program, right? It's many, many other places. One of those places is actually your book, right? So one of the places, but it serves a lot of different aspects. It serves more than just the one aspect of the book itself. So 7 would be 7 hours of research. If your book takes longer than 7 hours to read, or maybe you have an audiobook version of it, and the audiobook version of it takes 7 hours to listen to, that's 7 hours of content right there. So having a book is really, really a powerful way to connect. The number 11 is the 11 different touches. So remember the statistic that said it took 8 to 12 touches? Well, it turns out that it takes about 11 different touches for somebody to be able to make a big buying decision. So one of the touches can be your book. Another one could be your audiobook. Another one could be an announcement that you made bestseller. Another one could be an announcement that you're going to be doing a book signing at this other location. Another one could be a free chapter of your book that you email to them. Another one could be that you're reading out loud a chapter of your book every week on Facebook Live, right? So it could be a different aspect of you each time. They get the content, they get the touches, and they get the locations. So this is really having a book and combining it with being able to speak presents you as a credible resource that people can come back to over and over again. And it will increase their chance of making a really big buying decision. When you become a person who has that much of a reach, you then have the opportunity to move into influencer status. So an influencer is somebody who goes viral. Their messages go viral out there, and they are a big contributor to having people make a buying decision, whether it's a buying decision for your stuff or a buying decision for other people's stuff. So I know that the Kardashians are all out there as influencers, and they're like, yeah, if I'm going to talk about this, and then people are going to want it because I spoke about it, or maybe I wore it, or maybe I recommended it. All of those things can be really powerful as being an influencer. So there's a lot of different aspects to that. It's really that your message goes viral. So as much as you have a reach, that when you talk about something, or when you sell something, or when you recommend something, or when you wear something, that information goes out to a wider audience than your personal reach. And that's what becoming an influencer is all about. So Kelly, did you have any questions, or do you want to? Normally I would take questions from the audience, and I appreciate folks being here, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions on that.
I would just say keep going. I don't have any questions right now. So, Ashley, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I must be an impulse buyer. I don't think I spent 7 hours researching, but I must trust more than other people. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for that. It's been helpful.
Absolutely. So Ashley brings up a really good point, actually. So does it take 7 hours of research and 4 touches and 11 different locations every time before you buy a pen? No, it probably doesn't. But if you think about it, the decisions that you have made may have actually taken that many times if it's a large buying decision. For example, I'll tell you a story, since it's story time and we don't have a lot of questions. So I don't know, Kelly, do you know who Brendan Burchard is? Do you know who that person is?
Yeah, you bet I do.
Yeah. So Brendan Burchard, I didn't know who this man was. And I had a friend of mine say, hey, Kimberly, you should really go to one of Brendan's events or see his stuff. You're really, really going to like him. He's really your style. He talks about the same kinds of things you talk about. And, you know, he's full of energy, and he's really your kind of guy. You should really check him out. So I was like, oh, all right, yeah, I definitely will do that. Like, I'll go to his next event or whatever. And at that point, we were actually on the marketers cruise together, which Kelly knows about. And it was right before the pandemic. So after we left the marketers cruise, we all went back home, and I went to actually a couple of other events, but I sort of forgot about that. And then the pandemic happened, and Brendan did not have any other events. And it sort of went to the back of my mind, and I was like, oh, all right. And then every once in a while something would pop up, and it would be like a YouTube from Brendan, or you know, some sort of email that referenced him. And I was like, I've heard that guy's name, right? I don't really know who he is, but I remember my friend telling me about him. So about 3 years later, after the pandemic, Brendan had his first event. It was April 2023. It was his very, very first event. And I didn't hear anything about it, but my friend did. And so he emailed me, and he's like, Kimberly, actually, I think he messaged me on Messenger. And he's like, Kimberly, Brendan's next event is happening, and I'm going to be there. And would you like, do you want to go to it? Here's, you know, like, if you want to go to it, I'll give you a link to his event. I was like, yes, you've been telling me about him. I've heard a couple of things about him. Awesome. So, well, I'd be interested, right? So he sends me his link, and I didn't hear anything. I never listened to a YouTube. I never did anything, but I'm into events, and I had a friend in the Austin area where the event was going to take place. So I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. I'll go check this out. He's been talking about it, so maybe I will like his style. So I go to the event, and it's a 3-day event. This event is in classic speak to sell style, where you have day 1, you pour information into people. Day 2, maybe you have some guest speakers in the morning, and then in the afternoon, you make your offer. Day 3, you recap the offer and pour more information into folks so that they get lots of juicy goodness, whether they buy from you or not. And then at the end of that day, everybody leaves. Maybe there's a party and celebrating the people that have bought into the program. So that's a classic speak to sell. Now, one of the cool things about the Brendan event is that he did exactly speak to sell in person 3-day event style. When I went to the event, I was really just watching for the metadata on this event. I just really wanted to know how he ran the event, I was looking at what the lanyards looked like. I was looking at the check-in girls. I was looking at the t-shirts. I was looking at the merchandise out front. I was like, how's he running this event? I walked in, I was looking at the stage and how he had that set up and how the chairs were set up. They were classroom style, they were auditorium style, not classroom style. So there was no tables. He had about 3,000 seats. And I was like, okay, I wonder, and there's some room in the back. So maybe if extra people came, he could fill in those seats, which is a great technique for in-person events. And so I was looking at all this different stuff that he had. I still had not heard a word this man had spoken, but I had looked at his website, and I had checked the box, $197 that I was going to pay for it. And I had flown to the event, right? That's all I'd done. I still had not heard a single word that Brendan had spoken. So day 1 comes, and we're in the room, and the chairs fill up, and I'm watching, you know, classic speak to sell style. And he comes out on stage, and he's dancing this funny dance, and which is his like classic dance, apparently. I didn't know, but he dances this funny dance, and he's hyping everybody up in the audience, and I'm going along with it. Day 1 goes by, and he's pouring information into us. Whether we buy from him or not, we have gotten a huge amount of value for a $197 ticket. And that was awesome, right? So at the end of day 1, he's got us in little breakouts. We're starting to be friends with each other. Other people in the breakout sessions are telling me, oh yeah, I've been with Brendan for years. Oh yeah, I love his stuff. Oh my gosh, he always dances like that. And they're giving me more information about him in the breakout sessions, not from him on stage, but the breakout sessions that he puts us in groups of 5. Day 2 comes around, he does classic style. He puts 2 people on as guests on the stage, and then in the afternoon, he makes his pitch. Now, this is the 0 moment of truth for me. Now, I have heard about him as a reference from a friend. I heard about him multiple times in the 3 years, but I never heard a word he spoke, but I'd heard him and he was recommended to me in a bunch of different ways. I went to his event and I'm looking at all the different people. I'm looking at his different style. I'm seeing that he's more like me than not like me. He pours into us for 7 hours on day one. That's a magic number. And during the 7 hours of content, we go into these breakout sessions and I hear from him about him from all these other people. So I'm getting different locations. I'm getting multiple points of contact. I'm getting multiple touches. I've gotten lots of emails from him since I signed up that said, oh, we're super glad you're coming. All kinds of branding came at me. All kinds of information came at me. And then he personally spoke for more than 7 hours. So on day 2, he makes an offer. There were, I said 3,000 people. There were actually 2,000 people in the room. He spent 20 minutes making this offer and 350 people signed up for it. It was a 10K offer. He made $3.5 million in a 20-minute talk. Now, there were some people who'd seen him many more times than I had seen him. I purchased that offer because I was at the zero moment of truth. I had had 7 hours of content, 11 different touches, and 4 different locations that I found him. My friends, the website, his YouTube channel, his emails, and then finally in person, tons of information. And so it was a 10K offer. It was actually a really good offer, and it's now significantly more than that. It was his announcement and his beta test as he was just coming back from COVID, and I've snatched it up because it was a really good offer, and I was in. But 350 new best friends of mine were also in, right? Because they'd been at that zero moment of truth from other things. Now, would it have taken that much for me to buy a pen? No. Were there people in there who were not ready to buy yet? Absolutely. Are there people that might buy his next program, product, or service, or a different program or product or service from him? Absolutely. If they've already gotten that much, they might have bought a t-shirt that said something about Brendan, right? They might have bought a journal that was out in the front room. They might have bought a pen. They might have bought a course from him. They might have bought an online something for him. There was an app that you could buy from him. There's a lot of different things that you can buy from him at that zero moment of truth. But he really operates under that idea and that concept that he's going to come at you in a variety of different locations, give you a ton of value so that you can do your research and find out if you really want to work with him. And he makes at least 11 different touches, significantly more than that. I usually get 2 to 3 emails from him per week now that I'm on his list, sometimes more than that if we're having an event that week. And there's all kinds of ways that he gets in front of us to reassure us that we've made the right decision, but also to offer us other programs, products, and services that we might be interested in. During that event, we bought that $10,000 program. And since then, there have been many other offers that I could take advantage of since then. And I'm trying to think if I've actually purchased anything else from him. I think he's just really poured great stuff into us for the people that bought his mastermind. Since then, he's had 3 more events in person. I've been to, I think, all 3 of them. He sells the other events that he goes to the general populace. So if they just want to pay $197 to be involved with him, they can. But he's also selling this mastermind program for significantly more. I think instead of $10,000, which it was $10,000, which would be a little less than $1,000 a month on a monthly program. He's now selling it for $15,000 a month. And then I think you have to pay an upfront fee as well. And you don't get all of the things that were in the program that when I bought it. So I feel like I've been treated really well. And on top of that, I get more offers and more opportunities down the road to continue to work with him. So it was a 12-month program. It's very possible that after the 12 months are over, I've now been poured into it with so much information that I would make additional buying decisions from him. But what I wanted to point out is one of the things he did every single day is he did a seat drop. Now, you might not know what that is if you've never been to an event before or you've never sponsored an event, but a seat drop is that on every chair, they put something on the seat when you walk in as an attendee. So on the seat drop, he gave every day a book and a flash drive of information so that you could watch him on video and you could read his book. The video oftentimes was a recap of what was in the book. And he has written 10 books now. I think he had 10 books go to bestseller, so he may have written even more than that. I'm sure every book he has goes to bestseller. But he does that 1-2 punch. He's like, I'm going to get him this way, I'm going to get him this way, and I'm going to get him this way, and make sure that we can get his content in a variety of different ways at a variety of different price points. And if we just wanted to buy a t-shirt from him, we can do that. If we just wanted to buy a book from him, we can do that. If we just wanted to buy an audiobook from him, we can do that. If we wanted to go to an event, we can do that. And if we wanted to buy a $10,000 or $20,000 program from him, we can do that as well. His highest end mastermind that I know of is actually not a mastermind. It's a personal coaching program, and he sells it for $1 million, right? So potentially one day I could be a potential client of Brendan's that would then upsell to that larger program. Now, if I was going to buy $1 million program, you can bet I would not buy it before 7 hours of research, 11 different touches, and 4 different locations. But by now I've seen him so many times in so many different ways that yes, it might make a natural next step for me. So today we were talking about using your book as part of the program as an influence, becoming an influencer. I don't think anybody here can deny that Brendan Burchard is a strong influencer. He talks about high performance habits. He has a high performance habits book. He has a high performance habits program. He has a high performance habits certification. And when you have all of those brands all together, they support each other. So the book is a necessary ingredient in becoming an influencer, in my opinion. So if you are interested in becoming an influencer, getting your word out there, becoming somebody that people can really know, love, and trust, and have a program that supports you, and becoming maybe a keynote speaker, he's done what they call the Stadium Slam. He has spoken in every major stadium that's 100,000 people or more, I think, or 50,000 people or more, every major stadium in the US, and I think there's 50 of them that he's been to, and he's spoken in every single stadium as an influencer, sharing his message and sharing his juicy goodness throughout the world. So very, very excited to be able to share that program works, whether you are just starting out, whether you are an influencer at the mid-level where I am. I have a list of 50,000, and I have a regular show. I have 5 books out there. I have, and I do the speaking circuit. I've spoken on over 5,000 stages, and it's been a really powerful business building epic program and platform for me. Or you are at the Brendan Burchard or Tony, what's his last name? Tony Robbins level. Wherever you are on the spectrum, consider that a book is a big part of it, speaking is a big part of it, and influencing is a huge part of it. So wherever you are on the spectrum, make sure you start getting those books out there. It's not an effort of one and done. It is definitely something where you want to keep coming at people in different locations with different content and making those multiple touches. One other piece that I wanted to include in there is that if you are working with Kelly, first of all, she's amazeballs. You definitely need to work with Kelly to get your book out there. I did for my Shift Your Narrative book, and it became a bestseller. I'm super excited about that. I also have 2 other books with her, and we're about to do a 3rd called Voices of Women, which is really powerful. And those books help me get out there in a bigger way. And you can turn those books into audiobooks, which is another stream of income for you, a passive stream of income, but it can also be an active stream of income. So when you go and you speak, you can speak and then hold up your book and share with people, this is the book that I sell. And people may just love you so much that they just want to spend a little bit of money getting to know you a little bit better. That can be a powerful influencer technique as well. But if you're caught up and you're like, well, I'm not ready yet. I'm not sure what my message is yet. I'm really trying to perfect it. I don't know where I'm going to go next, or I'm just not feeling ready yet. I want to encourage you and tell you that you got to start now. You got to start somewhere. When I first started speaking, I was actually an audiobook narrator. I just narrated audiobooks. And then I started teaching people how to narrate audiobooks. And then I was like, I don't really want to do audiobooks anymore. I just want to teach. And then I taught entrepreneurship and how to grow a business. And then I taught about speaking. And today, mostly I teach about your voice and speaking and sharing your message and becoming an influencer. And the best way to do that is to get seen and heard. If you are not being seen, you're being overlooked. If you're not being heard, your message is not getting out there. And if you're not consistently getting it out in a variety of different locations, then it's not going to have the contribution you want it to have before you leave the planet. So that's my message to you, is start now, get it out there. When things morph, it's totally fine. You're going to put out your second book, then your third, then your fourth. And if you're Brendan Burchard, you're going to put out your 10th. And if you're better than Brendan Burchard, awesome. You can put out 20 or 30 or 40 books. I know that Kelly has quite a few herself, and she's also helped authors create their books and get their message out there. And that's really what it's all about. If you have a message that you want to share with the world, you need to get it out there in a format that people can consume. Maybe that's audio, maybe that's video, or maybe it's a book, but you want to get your message out there early and often. If you have a message and you're thinking to yourself, you know, I've got this really great book idea, then if it's 10% done, or if it's 80% done, or if it's 90% done, the bad news is it's still not done. And what that means is nobody can consume it. Nobody can get it. Nobody can change their lives because of the juicy goodness that you have. And if you're not getting it out there, then it's not going to have the contribution you want it to have. So I encourage you, get started in any of these different places, get on some stages, get with Kelly, get your book done, get it turned into multiple platforms, and let's get you out there as an influencer.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And, you know, Kimberly, you and I, like, that's all we're talking about today, is how having your book and a speech that go together. And like, this is my Grit, Guts, and Courage book that has, what, 30 people in it. Kimberly, I know you're in it too.
Yeah.
And, you know, what's really cool about this is it's a book, it's a podcast, and it's a speech. It's a keynote speech. And so because of having all that, this is what helps me to get more speaking gigs. It also helped me to get more clients. And I know we're just going to pull out, of course, the two Voices of Women book, so 2022 and 2023, same type of thing. Like there's, you know, 20 authors on each book that, you know, are now able to say they're best-selling authors and get their stories out there in a big way. And they're able to use this book as leverage to help them get more clients, more podcasts, more coaching clients, more speaking gigs, all of that. And then my latest book, Kimberly, I don't even know if you know about this one. Do you want to stay in your poopy diaper? And this is the 6 questions that my best friend asked me when I was going through my divorce that helped me to move through. And again, that is a book, and it's also a speech. So it's something that I'm promoting to speak on for, you know, various different events. But Kimberly, I know there's another reason that you wanted to talk to us, and that was also to talk about the Influencers Cruise. So do you want to talk about that now?
I would love to. So the Influencers Cruise is coming up. As we're recording this right now, it's coming up in April. So April of this year, April 7th through 14th, we are going on the Influencers Cruise. And it's going to be a wonderful event where you're gonna have the chance to be able to become an influencer during the event in a variety of different ways. So I'm gonna put a link in the chat. Influencers Cruise is in fact, I think I can share my screen. Oh no, I can't share my screen because I'm not a host. But the Influencers Cruise is going through the Western Caribbean, or Caribbean, depending on how you say that. It's all about connecting. It's all about collaborating, celebrating your success, and of course, cruising. It will leave from Galveston, Texas, and it will go to Mexico and Honduras. It's in Roatan, Puerto Costa Maya, Cozumel, and Galveston, Texas, and it's going to be amazing. This is a Royal Caribbean ship. They have a park on the ship, like live trees. It's absolutely beautiful. It's an incredible ship and event. During the cruise, we will be, not only will we be like touring these beautiful cities and doing amazing stuff in foreign lands, but you'll also have a chance to be able to speak during the event which makes you an international speaker. So the price for the Influencers Cruise is $1,000 for the ticket to become a part of the Influencers Cruise, and then you just pick out which room that you want, and you pay for your own room. So we don't want to stick you in a very expensive presidential suite if that's not what you want. So it's just $1,000 to be able to participate with Kelly and myself and Michelle Abraham and Frank King and several others that are hosting the cruise and putting together content for you. And then you pick out your room. The last time I checked, it looks like the interior rooms were about $700 for a shared room. So a double occupancy shared room. So really worth it. If you want to upgrade and do a balcony or a suite, then that's entirely up to you, and make an amazing event for you. During the cruise, of course, we'll have our wonderful times ashore, but when we're at sea, we're going to be having lots of content for you. We'll have about 3 hours a day while we're at sea, where we'll have a chance to get together and talk and teach about how to create your own book, how to be able to do, we're going to have Frank King there. He's going to talk about how to be a TEDx speaker. We will also have him talking about how to be a keynote speaker and create a bookable, billable keynote talk, so that when you get out there in the world, that you have an opportunity to be able to share your juicy goodness and get paid to do it. So even that, if you learn how to create a $5,000 bookable, billable keynote talk, that pays for your cruise and your very first keynote. And then if you learn how to leverage your book by making it a bestseller and selling 10,000 copies of a $20 book, that's $20,000 right there. That's in revenue. That's a wonderful new opportunity for you. If you start getting on paid speaking gigs or speak to sell, where you get on a stage and you make an offer for your $10,000 program, just like Brendan Burchard did, then you'll learn how to be able to make lots and lots of money very, very quickly to be able to do speak to sell. There's a lot of different categories of ways that you can earn money and be profitable by speaking and leveraging your book and leveraging your TEDx and creating that true influencer status.
I love it. I can't wait for the cruise. It's going to be my first time going on a cruise. And so I'm so excited to be able to do this with you and Kimberly and Frank King and Braden. And I think it's just going to be so awesome. So
Awesome.
yeah, absolutely.
So there's a couple of questions that we get from time to time. And one of them is, well, I do want to go on a cruise, but I don't want to leave my spouse or my partner behind. So a lot of people ask, can we bring family or friends or clients? And the answer is yes, the more the merrier. In fact, we will pay you $300 commission for every influencer package you sell. And if you decide that you want to bring them and they are not participating, so if they're a spouse and they're like, I'm going to go to the pool while you participate, you just have to pay for their cabin. They do not actually have to pay the $1,000. The $1,000 is non-refundable, but it can be transferred to another guest. So if you're like, yes, I'm in, I'm totally doing that. And then something comes up and you're like, oh my gosh, it's no problem. It actually can be transferred to somebody else, and you can sell that for $1,000 to another person, or negotiate whatever you want, and transfer that to another guest. That will allow them events, workshops, trainings, and masterminding on board. So if they are coming and they're a kid, one of your kids or something like that, they don't need to purchase the influencer package. They just but they won't be able to come into the masterminding, the workshops, and learning. But otherwise, they can join you and just pay for the cruise and not the influencers package. And if anybody asks any questions, I will be happy to answer them. But Kelly is going to be on it. I'm going to be on it. Michelle Abraham, who many of you know, is going to be on the cruise. We have our friend Jennifer Takagi is going to come with us. We have several folks that are in this community that are going to be joining, and you are not going to want to miss it. So I'm super excited about that. We're going to give you a link to be able to find out more about it. If you have any questions on it, we'll be happy to answer.
Excellent. So yeah, so people can reach out to www.influencerscruise.com. Right?
Awesome. Yep, that's it. Yep. And you will be able to pick the tracks that you want to participate in. One is to become a podcaster. So many of you are wanting to become a podcaster. That's a great way to be an influencer. Podcasters can be fantastic influencers. So if you want to be a podcaster or an author, that is a fantastic track for you to belong on. If you want to be on the speaker track, we have a track for that. And VIPs get access to all of the guest influencer seminars at sea. So become a better influencer, make more money, fine tune your mindset, and just something really fun. So I'm gonna have a lot of fun, and I hope everybody that joins us is all about fun as well.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I can't wait. Cool. I'm just gonna stop.